Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a great day out there. Well, anyways, today we'll take a look at Gary Newman's The Pleasure Principle. And I know most people probably know Gary from the song Cars, and I guess for me as a little kid, I think Cars might have been like the first song that I really heard a lot because I was like a pretty young kid when that came out. And I do remember a lot of the older guys in my neighborhood, guys that were into rock and hard rock and AC/DC and all that, they were listening to this song too. Like when this was back in the days where people had boombox radios and they'd have their music going. But Cars was always a song they played quite a bit. And it's just, even to this day, I still think Cars is a pretty cool song. It's definitely a classic in that new wave sound of music. But I figured we might as well take a look at Gary, the record that this came from, The Pleasure Principle. And the one thing about this record came out in September 9th, 1979, so it's kind of considered like an 80s record because when you talk about one-hit wonders from the 80s, this always comes up even though it's released in late 79, getting close to 80. But a couple things stand out on this record. You definitely hear that Cars song sound on a lot of these songs. They definitely have. There's a certain part of the keyboard synth part on Cars that if you listen to this whole record, you'll know what I'm talking about. It kind of pops up on pretty much every song, but I guess that kind of makes sense. And this almost sounds like something that I don't know why, but like Jack White from the White Stripes would release an album that would sound like this, except with synths. His would be guitar, if that makes any sense. Well, anyways, and so sometimes because these songs sound like they do, they are kind of hard to tell apart and they don't really stand out. So any song, apart from Cars, like for me, songs that maybe they don't really have like a ton of singing, and that could be a reason that there were no other real hits from this. Maybe there, if you know, there are other songs released, but it just like they kind of a lot sound like Cars, but without as much singing and not that catchy chorus. Well, anyways, to get to the point, the first song, Airline, it opens up and it's just musical only, and it's kind of that synth sound that you'd kind of hear like when they're doing a montage in an early 80s film of like, okay, here's a guy who's going to clean his house, so we need some background music to play for that. And that's so it's kind of a weird way to open a record with just a musical song. Then the next song, Metal, and I know there's a lot more songs I'm going to name here because there's been a lot of reissues, but I'm just kind of going the main ones from the original record. And there's 10 songs on here. So a song called Metal, which the sound, of course, sounds like Cars, and there's really not much of a chorus. And like a lot of these songs, there's the music goes for quite a while before he starts singing, and throughout there's really no background or a lot of overdubbing. It's just kind of his voice singing, and he doesn't necessarily have the greatest voice. And maybe some of these songs with, not trying to pick on the guy, but a better singer might have, if he was just playing, the synth and keyboard stuff and brought in a different singer to give it a little more power. Like, not that I'm a big fan of, I can't even think of the name of that band. What are those? Oh, Depeche Mode. It's like, yeah, they're a synth band, but their singer can kind of push through that. He's got probably a lot better voice than Gary does. And if you know what I'm talking about, like they just this album could use something like that. Then the next song is Complex. Bit of a slower song to me. I don't know, it kind of has a sort of Irish feel to it for some reason, and there's not a whole lot of singing once again, just more music. Then the next track, Films. It's a darker sounding song. It kind of reminds me of something they'd play in like an early 80s horror film if they need some backing sounds to be in kind of a darker film. And there's not really any chorus or anything. Gary sings a little bit, but mostly heavy on the synth. It's kind of cool. Probably maybe outside of Cars, my second favorite song on the record. Then there's Me, or M period E. And once again, a lot of music, not much singing. And I think for me personally, when there's not a whole lot of singing or not much of a chorus to a lot of these songs, they're just kind of hard to remember because the music kind of blends into each other. It's really hard to tell it apart sometimes. Then we go to the next side, song called Tracks, which is, yeah, it's pretty cool. It's got a nice piano intro. It's a faster tempoed song, and I think it works pretty well. It's kind of cool, but once again, I couldn't really hear this song kind of being any kind of radio hit. And then the song Observer, which to me, it's basically they're using the track, the musical track from Cars, and changing it a little bit with some different lyrics. And when you're hearing it, all you hear is Cars. I mean, it's the same exact thing. Then you go to Conversation. Song's over 7 minutes long. Once again, not much singing, and it's just once again not super great, but just they could have shortened that a few minutes. Then we get to the classic song of all time on this record, Cars. You can see why Cars was a hit. It's got the synth, it's got some nice rhythm to it. The singing kind of works on this song. Sounds a lot better. There's a catchy chorus, it's memorable. Like the other songs, they need to be more lyrically better. It's like the music could be fine, but there's just no when if you listen to it, there's not much chorus. There's not anything that you can remember. Then it closes out with Engineers, and it starts with this kind of snare drum type beat to it, and it never changes. It just the entire song is the same rhythm and beat, so it kind of goes. There's not like any pre-chorus, chorus, any kind of thing like that. It just kind of goes straight forward, not much singing. So overall, it's kind of a record maybe to listen to see what it's like. Because I'm not picking on the guy by saying he's a one-hit wonder, but generally, like he's considered a one-hit wonder. And okay, this guy did have other records, but when you listen to the record, you can kind of see like, okay, Cars would definitely be the single I would release, and everything else, I don't know. It's just not really. Maybe there's a few tunes you could get played on the radio, but probably nothing that's going to catch you like Cars. So maybe if they could redo this album in some way and add more lyrics to the songs, because the music's probably fine for that era, late 70s, early 80s sound of new wave, but they just need more catchy choruses, like a Depeche Mode. They've got all this synth stuff going on, but their choruses and their lyrics are kind of catchy, and even you kind of remember the songs. Like this one, there's just not a whole lot to remember there. Well, anyways, I hope you're having a great day. We'll see you in the next one, and talk to you later. Have a great day.